Hey guys, Lizardlea here for Imagine from Bewitching Cross Stitch by Joan Elliott. So it is that one. And as you can see, I have a post-it note that says Mom. So she requested this a while ago, and since I'm still dealing with my eye, because yes, the twitch has come back. It's not as bad, thankfully, but it's driving me bonkers. I don't have the hand-dyed fabric that they used, but I do have pretty blue fabric that I think my mom will like. So that'll work. I already pulled out all my threads, and I have some silver beads. I want to say these are the same ones I used on this, like the moon part of this guy. I'm pretty sure. And it would make sense that I would have half of the bottle left. Yeah. I will go back to For Heavenly Beasts. I need a break right now. It has been very busy and very crazy lately, so I just want something low maintenance and quick and small. And I think this is only going to be like 4 by 6 inches. So let's see, we can do the math together. So I'm doing this on 14 count. It is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. We'll do 85. 85 divided by 14. So the longest it'll be is a little over 6 inches, almost 7. By 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. 60 divided by 14, 4.28. So yeah, I'm about 4 by 7-ish, 4 by 6-ish, whatever. So I think I'll probably just cut part of this, because I have a weird shape remaining. I don't remember what I've used this for in the past. I don't know. So I'm going to use, where did I put it? Right here. This guy. Well, actually, where's my 6 inches wide? So it might show the whole thing on this, but I'll probably have to move it a little bit, which is fine. So yeah, I'm going to cross stitch a unicorn, and I'm going to hopefully listen to The Night Watch by Terry Pratchett. Is that the book that I'm on now? I don't know. I'm a few chapters in. I'm pretty sure it's The Night Watch. I don't know. What's his name? The head of the watch. Sam Vimes. There we go. Got it. Has gone back in time. Super crazy. I'm enjoying it.
I was listening to Night Watch on this video. And what book are we talking about?
Thud.
And is that a prequel or a sequel?
It's a sequel.
Oh, so we're really far behind is what you're saying.
Yeah, you're really far behind is what you're saying.
Not at all. I'm not behind. I am precisely where I'm supposed to be. So Thud was my favorite of the books I read by Terry Pratchett. Like Thud and Feet of Clay.
Okay. So what happens in Thud?
Thud, one of the many where I did not like the opening yet again, because it was, oh, this is the dwarf history of the dwarves and the trolls, and oh no, now this is the trolls' history of the trolls and the dwarves. And, you know, it's just they see one another as the villains in their story. But, you know, of course, we don't know which one is correct. Wah, wah. And then, what's the real opening of the book? I don't remember. You need to do your thing.
I need to do my thing, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so the point of Thud is that, basically, we have this guy named Ham Crusher in town, and he is riling up all the dwarfs because Coombe Valley is going on, not the Coombe Valley, but the anniversary of Coombe Valley is occurring. And Coombe Valley is this big war that kind of made the war between the trolls and the dwarfs official, or big fight, sorry, where both sides claim the other side ambushed the other one. And, now anytime a dwarf fights a troll, it's a Coombe Valley, and blah, 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 blah. So, this anniversary has inflamed relations between dwarfs and trolls in the city, as there's this Grag Ham Crusher guy in town, and he's basically saying, hey, you should all kill, or any proper dwarf should be killing trolls and should hate trolls, and it's the old, hyper-conservative, lunatic nonsense. Yep, anyone who's not you should be dead. And if you're not doing that, you're not a proper dwarf. So it has not been helping things. But things feel a little bit off. The dwarfs are all whispering to each other, and the trolls are, making troll graffiti in the walls, which is where they just scratch it in with their fingernails.
Yep.
About, Mr. Shine, him Diamond, and things like that. And then they eventually find out that it turns out that Grag Ham Crusher has been found dead. Because there's two openings. There's the dwarf troll history thing opening, and then there's the second cold open, which is a bunch of dwarfs in the dark, and then all of a sudden there's a thud, and then, they drop a body, and they say, we all agree it was a troll, and everyone's like, yes, it was a troll, of course it was a troll, but it says there was actually a troll, and the troll saw, or something like that. So, lo and behold, Grag Ham Crusher is dead, and Vimes is now on the case of figuring out how he died, and it gets weird from there, because of course it turns out there's a giant mine under the city that the dwarfs have been building without anyone knowing, and why are they here? And at the same time, there's this painting of Coombe Valley done by a guy named Rascal. He's dead, and it's this massive painting. It's supposed to be, I forget how big, but just
huge,
unbelievably massive painting. It's based off a real painting. I forget what the real painting is. And it's of this battle, Coombe Valley. But, there's lots of flaws with it. Like, everyone says it's set in the wrong part of the valley and blah, 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 blah. And it has been stolen. So Colin and Nobby are on the, let's find the missing painting job. And Vimes is on the who killed Grag Ham Crusher job. Grag means, elder in their world, kind of I don't know if rabbi is kind of the equivalent, or priest, but it's a little more official. Maybe cardinal might be a similar, or pope kind of thing. Anyways, yeah, so their guy has been killed, and they got to look into it. And of course, it immediately looks like the dwarves are being suspicious about it. And the other side plot that's going on is Vimes has an issue with vampires. He's always had an issue with vampires. He's never really liked the undead in general, but he's hated vampires for a long time. And his argument against having a vampire in the Watch has always generally been, well, none of them are dumb enough to apply, because it's a crappy job, and lo and behold, they're usually people with 30 titles and, fancy holdings and whatnot, and so they never apply. And then Vetinari goes, well, good news, we have one who wants to apply.
Her name is Sally!
Yeah, well, her name is actually much, 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 much longer, but yes, she goes by Sally. I thought it was Von Humpding or something.
Hold on, I had it. Lance Constable Salacia Sally Von Humpding.
Yeah. So, the other fun part is that werewolves and vampires naturally do not get along. They hate each other, so when Vimes is about to go interview this vampire, Angua has been assigned to show her around, and so there's a lot of tension between them, and then a lot of tension between, Vimes and the vampire and all these other things. Oh, and also, Lord Vetinari has assigned Mr. A.E. Pessimal to do a review of the Watch. It's a government inspection. So he's like, well, I watched these two people walk down the street at this pace. Is this a worthwhile pace? Was this a good use of money? And so those are kind of the main threads of the plot, and then they all sort of intermingle into the usual disaster/menagerie of nonsense. So
your discussion has made me think of a couple scenes that I really enjoyed.
That's why I brought them up.
So in one of them, Angela is telling Sally, she's like, yeah, people are going to pick on you. Like, they're going to probably put garlic and stuff in your lockers. Be prepared. It's what happens here. Or was it Angela that told him that?
Yeah,
or told her that?
Yeah.
Or was it...
It was at Nagua, yeah, or whatever.
Was it Angela, or was that the other...
No, it was
the
Angela.
female dwarf?
No, it was Angela.
It was Angela.
Because she mentions that she got, like, dog collars and, dog biscuits.
And stuff like
she's
that.
like, and the treats weren't actually bad, like, yeah.
So I loved it. Everybody is in the locker room, and, they're just watching Sally as she walks up to her locker. She opens it, and there's what appears to be 2 garlic heads, like huge things of garlic, in her locker. She grabs both of them, and I don't remember exactly what she says, but essentially she ends up taking a huge bite out of
garlic.
One of them. Yeah, huge bite. And everybody's kind of just like, ew. And the guy who... Like, I think she can tell from how he smells. She can tell who put it in there. So she's like, here you go. You obviously like it. You put it in there. And I think he does end up taking a bite.
Yep.
And he, like, bursts into tears. And, like, he's having a hard time at it. And then, was it Vimes that's like, what's going on? And then she's like, yeah, no, this is actually just a turnip.
Yeah.
But I put, like, not garlic powder, like chili powder inside the garlic.
Chili seeds.
Yeah, that's what it was.
What was the exact... Because the line was pretty great.
So
it's like, it's, so that wasn't actually garlic, was it? No, I found the garlic earlier and swapped it for these carved turnips because I knew, it would be fine for me. And he goes, turnips, he seems to be taking it poorly. There might have been 100 chili seeds in his.
That's what it was. Yeah. Oh my god, it was so funny. Like, that was the moment where I was like, I am on board for Sally. Let's go.
And
then, Nobby and Colin, I don't know how they say his name, I always forget.
Colin.
When they're investigating the missing painting, they're like, oh, well, maybe they cut it into a bunch of pieces and hid it underneath the pictures in the other frames, and they were going to come back and get it later, and they're like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think it was that, but, like, they go through this freaking trial of trying to figure out how this person, or, whoever stole it, got it out. And they were so funny. I love the 2 of them. They're great. Which makes me miss the one where they went to that other country with Vetinari, because the 3 of them together. Was it Vetinari? I think it was Vetinari and the 2 of them. Or was it Vimes and the 2 of them? Like, they had the most hilarious dynamic ever.
Which part?
Like, when Nobby dressed as a woman. The first time.
Oh, that was... It
was Vetinari, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved the 3 of them together, and I'm so sad that we haven't gotten more of them. Because that would be just perfection. I'd love it. I want more. But yeah, that was hilarious. And of course it takes them, until like past the halfway mark of the book to finally tell Vimes, like, oh yeah, we've been investigating this missing painting. And he's like, why didn't you tell me? I love them so much.
Coombe Valley. And then I know you love the Sybil scenes. Like, where she moves back into the watch house and, like, cleans out the teapot. And, yep, there you go.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know where you're going with this. I thought I'd get you on the track.
Well, you said teapot, and I feel like you need to elaborate, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, she's watching, because later in the book, spoilers, of course, but you guys should all read these, the dwarfs try to kill Sam and his family. And so they move Sybil and little Sam into the watch house so that they're under protection. And so Sybil used to live in that watch house. She donated it to the watch. It used to be her old home. And so she's like walking, and everyone's like, being polite and whatnot to her because they don't know how to handle it. And then she's like, oh yeah, I cleaned out the teapot. And he's like, you cleaned out the teapot? And she's like, yes, it's, it was horrible in there. And he's like, it's like been that way for 30 years or something. And she's, finally cleaned it out, ruining the fine, teapot that they have all grown up with, and blah, 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 blah. I thought it was funny. Whatever. You can get to your part.
I literally do not remember that at all. My favorite part was before David's scene, when Vimes is attacked at home, or like he walks in on someone trying to attack his son, basically, and he just goes insane. Actually, I guess I should. That whole scene was great, where he walks in and he learns from the butler, like, oh yeah, this guy attacked me and I killed him, like with the ice pick or something.
Yeah, ice knife.
Ice knife. Like, it was so funny. That was hilarious. And then he's like, oh, okay, so he's dead. And then, like, they realize, like, there's a second one or whatever, and that's when Vimes runs up the stairs and he's like, if you touch my son, I'll kill you! And he just, he has all the hells following behind him, is what it sounded like. And so the dude, trips and falls out of fright? Is that what it was?
Not exactly. He slips on a toy.
Oh, is that what it was? Yes. I know Vimes scared the crap out of him, or at least it seemed like he did.
No, he slips on a toy, because one of the side plots throughout all this is that the Summoning Dark has been released into the world. Yes. It's an old rune of the dwarfs that's kind of like a curse, and it turns out it might actually be old magic, and spoilers, it is.
And the dwarves are terrified of it.
Yes, and the Summoning Dark has taken a avatar in the world, and spoiler, it's Vimes. And so it's trying to basically turn Vimes into this, like, frothing at the mouth berserker who will do nothing but kill, 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 kill. And they, Vimes is, of course, trying not to become that, even though he doesn't know that's what he's dealing with. And that was sort of the thing that it used, is it, like, protected the kid. Because when he walks into the room, he sees the mark. The toys just happen to have fallen in the right way. And so, yes, it protected his child, almost certainly.
It's an eye with a tail. I remember that.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, he saves his son, and it's all good. But then, he's like, oh, Sybil! And so, he's got his kid, and he runs out of the room, and the butler's like, oh, do you want me to take little Sam? And he's like, no, only I can protect him. And he runs down, and he gets to the stables, because he knows that Sybil is taking care of the dragons. He opens the door, and I don't remember exactly how it went down, if, like, he saw the assassin.
He sees them hit Sybil they have these flamethrowers. So they hit Sybil with the flamethrower, but Sybil's in her...
She's in her dragon armor, so fire does nothing to it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it happened before, like, before she says anything, the dragons all, like, lean their heads up and they look. Yeah, like they've been challenged. And then she shouts, like, get down, or...
She tells Sam, like, get down.
Yeah, and then all of them just literally drop flat to the floor, and the dragons just spew fire. The dude burned alive almost instantaneously,
I think he explodes, actually.
Oh, what? Yeah, that's right! Yeah. The thing he was carrying also, yeah. And, oh man, I screamed. Like, I was so excited. Like, I said I screamed. I cheered. Mm-hmm. But it was basically a scream. I was so happy, because Sybil is my spirit animal. Like, I love that woman. Mm-hmm. I love a powerful woman that has, all these muscles and is really strong and raises dragons and is also very...
practical?
Well, propriety is not the right word. Proper. Like, she was raised to be royalty, she is royalty. And, like, it's not dual personalities, but it's like they took two characters. One that is this just strong female badass, and this other one that is just, dainty and a princess, and mushed them into one, and I love it. Yeah. I love it so much. Because at any moment, I absolutely believe, like, yes, this is what she would have done. This is what she would have done. Because in the previous books, where the werewolves were going after Vimes, and she pretended to be just as friendly as always with the the wife of that guy, where she was like, oh, you've never written me a letter back, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, yes, perfection. So that scene in particular, probably my favorite scene of the entire book, all of the books that I've read. Like, just her getting blasted by a flamethrower, no effect, and then the dragons being like, oh, really? Like, so in my mind, when I envision the scene, they're all really big dragons, but they're all just the swamp dragons, right? They're all the little baby guys.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, just in my mind, I see them as gigantic, because, like, they destroy him.
There's also the scene you loved where they're like, oh, well, we don't have the rascal anymore because the dwarves have stolen it, and so what are we going to do? And she's like, well, you could make a copy if you had a this, and oh yeah, I kept it up in the attic. Have you guys ever been to the attic?
Because I was like, huh, who's that remind you of, honey?
Yeah.
Us?
You? I am much less...
Well, no, that's the thing. It's us, where I am Sybil, and, like, I know where all the things are, and you are Sam, and you're like, there are things that we have an attic? There are things in the attic?
Yes.
What?
This is true.
But my next favorite scene, actually, from the book was probably Angela and Sally they're about to start fighting, and, like, they're naked at this point, and they're in a bunch of mud.
Underground.
Underground, yeah. And they're naked because Angela turned into a werewolf. You know, she turned into a wolf.
Yeah.
So her clothes got destroyed. And Sally had turned into a bunch of bats. And she's like, you know how difficult it is to have, you know, bats try to work together to carry a pair of pants? It's not going to work. So they're just stark naked. And they're getting ready to go. They are fired up and ready to fight. And I think it was Sally. She looks around and she's like, you know what we're missing? Paying watchers. We are about to have a mud wrestling fight, and no one is paying to watch us. And so, they don't fight!
Yeah.
And then that leads to another really good thing, where they realize they are under a strip club.
Yeah,
and Nobby is there, and Colin is there. Cologne, I don't know. Mm-hmm. They get there, and they start talking, and they're just like, Angela? Is that you? Like, they're super confused. Her voice just seems to be coming from the floor. And the ladies leave dressed in strippers' clothes.
Yeah.
So Angela has these, like, 6-inch heels. She wore them for, like, a minute, I think she said, and then she just carries them the rest of the way. But Sally's totally cool with it the whole time.
Yes, which was,
Which leads me to another thing that I really loved, which was Nobby had a girlfriend in this book.
Yes.
I don't remember her
Betty.
name. Betty? It was Betty, because I was like, me! It's me! Don't ever call me Betty, but that is from Elizabeth, so I'll take it. That's a win for me! And, like, she is just one of the most beautiful people in the town, if not the most beautiful from the way they talk about her. And she said yes to Nobby because he was the only person who had ever asked her out. Which, kind of true to life, when you meet someone who's absolutely gorgeous and totally out of your league, you're less inclined to ask them out because you're like, they're going to turn me down. Versus Nobby was like, everybody turns me down. It's whatever. She's beautiful. I'm going to ask her out. And so she says yes, and all the girls are like, you know, what's wrong with you? He's disgusting. And she's like, well, he's never been mean to me. He's never touched me. You know, like, he's been great. And what did the girls all call it?
Jerk syndrome.
The jerk syndrome.
Where the idea being that the girl is so perfect and so beautiful that any half-decent person would think, oh, she's out of my league, I'm not even going to talk to her. So the girl spends all this time thinking there must be something wrong with her because guys won't talk to her. And then the only person who's ever going to have the guts to ask her out is someone who's been such a jerk that he doesn't care if he gets rejected or whatnot, or, you know, doesn't have the self-awareness to, like, realize he's not in her league. And so it's like Nobby, who has to carry a shit around claiming that he's human, and Betty, who is like so beautiful that like gods or goddesses would be jealous. So they're like, oh, this is it. This is the one.
And I shipped them. I shipped them so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to the end of the book, and I was like, man, David, if Betty breaks up with him because of what those girls said, I'm going to be so angry. Mm-hmm. I'm going to hold it against Angela and Sally and Cherry the rest of their lives. I'm going to be so angry. Or Cheery?
Cheery.
Cheery. Cherry was the name she was potentially going to switch to, so that's why I kept thinking about it. But then, no, it turns out Nobby's like, no, I broke up with her. And Colin's like, why? And he's like, yeah, she tried to make this
distressed pudding.
The dessert that my mom used to make, and it was just.
I'm sure it's a dessert. Okay.
It was well, whatever. She tried to make this meal that my mom used to make, and she was amazing at it. And Betty just did a terrible job, and I can't accept that.
And let her down gently.
I freaking loved it. Like, I was like, perfection. Okay, I accept it now. Like, they broke up on Nobby's terms.
Pratchett is a very good writer.
Oh, it was so funny. It was so good. Like, Nobby's my favorite character. So, pretty much since they introduced him, he's been my favorite character. So I was like, all I want is for him to find happiness. And I thought he had it, and then I thought the girls were going to take it away because they were brats. But no, Betty didn't do that. She was just like, okay, well, he's kind to me and I like him. Mm-hmm. And then he breaks up because she can't cook the way his mom can. Mm-hmm. Oh, poor Betty. But hopefully now other guys will ask her out who are better looking and, you know, will also be kind to her. All right, we've got like 2 minutes. What scene stood out for you? What would you like to discuss?
I like the part where Sam finally starts going berserk because he's barely survived falling through underground waterfalls and caverns. And first he has a near-death experience, so Death must have a near-vines experience. He's like, don't worry, I brought a book.
Mm-hmm. That was funny.
And then Sam goes completely lunatic nuts and starts reading Where's My Cow to Sam while running through the, dwarfs.
And Sam can hear him because Vimes is shouting so loudly. And it's echoing and going up, isn't it?
It's more mystical stuff to do. Like, even though it's echoing, it's mystical nonsense to do with the thing.
The thing that's in him. Okay.
It's figured out a way to, like, work with him because it wants to turn him into a raging maniac so he can get revenge. So it can force him to get revenge for the dwarf who was killed. And he hesitates at, like, the last moment, and then I think Angela takes him down. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, you probably would have, like, ripped your tendons from your bones if it had lasted any longer. Like, no one's ever, like, stopped the summoning dark. They always die crazy and insane and broken, And so there's the whole big, who watches the Watchmen thing. And then there's Mr. A.E. Pessimal, who's, like, the stupid little twerp guy who, like, literally his first name is A.E. He wasn't even named. He was initialed. And his whole thing is that Vimes is like, you want to know what it's like to be a copper? Fine. Because there's about to be a bunch of trolls charging a bunch of dwarves in the middle of the city and starting a riot. And so the police have to go stand in the middle of them and try and stop them from doing that. Well, the watch. And so he's like, hey, Mr. Bessimal, why don't you come down and help? You get to be
Lance Constable or something.
Well, like they're the specials. Like, it's where, like, average citizens get, briefly deputized to help when they need more manpower. And so he's like, you can be one of these. And, like, they're putting a helmet on him. They're, giving him a chain vest. They're like, so what should I do? Well, oh yeah, because his butler's there. He's like, one should dodge the first attack of a troll. Then one may choose their target of choice. And what if you don't dodge the first attack? Then one must start over. And how do you do that? Usually being born is the first step.
I really liked the Pessimal plot. That was good.
Because, lo and behold, when the actual thing goes nuts, one person goes nuts, it's Brick. That's a whole other character we didn't even get into.
I love Brick. Oh my god. I'm going to just make this longer. It's fine.
Yeah, he starts biting the troll with his teeth, and so suddenly his whole world is turned because everyone's like, oh, you're great. This is awesome. And he's, like, got friends and whatnot. So he wants to join the Watch, and Vimes says, sure, because I need someone who knows how to hold a pencil without breaking it. But you'll still do Watch routes, because you need to learn how it works. And then he gets to go back to Veterinarian and be like, yeah, I regret to inform you Mr. Pessimal has been injured. Why? Well, he bit a troll. A whole troll.
Yeah.
With his teeth.
It was so good.
Yeah, your move, Veterinary. So do you want to...
Oh my god, brick.
Yeah.
So, trolls are made of stone and dirt, and he is obviously made of brick, which is... I got the feeling it was kind of uncommon, but, so his whole thing is he has memories, like he remembers being in the cave when when the dwarf at the beginning was murdered, and he's like, it wasn't me, like, I didn't do it. But he doesn't have a troll family, like he doesn't have a clan or anything, so he's like, okay, I gotta join somebody, because otherwise, no one's gonna defend me, and they're just gonna kill me. And he is just so precious. He is a little snowflake, and I love him. And at one point, like another one of my favorite scenes, this was my favorite book for sure. Their carriage that Vimes is going in to go to the Coombe Valley has been enchanted by witches. Was it wizards or wizards? It was the wizards. The wizards enchanted it, and it it goes super duper fast. Like it flies, and it has exploding cabbages to make it go.
By cabbages.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
All the cabbages along the way explode.
So good. And then Brick is hanging on to the roof of one of the carriages, just hanging on for dear life. Because he's terrified, like, of the heights, of how quickly they're moving, everything. And in the end, what is the troll's name? Detritus. Vimes is watching Detritus take care of Brick and help him, and he's like, yeah, Detritus and his wife don't have a kid. Huh. And then, Detritus adopts him, and it's the most sweet thing ever. Oh my god. And then there's the equivalent of the Troll King. Mr. Shine. Every time you see him, he is covered from head to toe. He's got a trench coat, he's got gloves, he's got a face mask. I think he had a hat too, didn't he? Like, he just had everything. So you're just like, okay. And he's a detective. He's super smart. And at one point, Vimes finds him. And is that when he learns how to play Thud? Or like what Thud is? So Thud is a board game where one side has 30 dwarves and the other side has 7 trolls, I think. Something like that. So it's like, it seems vastly outnumbered. And you learn dwarves and trolls play this game against one another. And actually, Vimes is the one who's like, oh, well, yeah, obviously it's in the dwarves' favor. They have more people. And Mr. Shine, and myself, I would like to say, we're like, no, I bet the trolls are going to win more often than not. And that's when Mr. Shine says, no, actually, people who've been playing this for a really long time, it's like, only 60% of the time, but on average, more often than not, the trolls win. Which was super cool. And then Vimes is just like, he's questioning him. And then that's when Mr. Shine is like, all right, so trolls have this thing where they have a king, and he's born into it. Like, he just is king. There's no question. And Vimes is like, well, why? And Mr. Shine's like, all right, you need to close your eyes. And Vimes is, why? You need to close your eyes. So Vimes closes his eyes. And obviously, as the reader, we get to know what's happening. Vimes doesn't know at the exact moment, but Mr. Shine takes off his glove. And Vimes just sees this burning red flame, on his eyelids, because his eyes are closed. And that's when we learn that Mr. Shine is made of diamonds. And that is the most rare thing for a troll to be made out of. And he can regulate his temperature. And that's why it doesn't matter if he's in the hot or in the cold, he's incredibly intelligent. He is always as smart as he wants to be. And it was so cool. Because, like, so when Vine saw burning fire, I was like, oh, he's made of, like, rubies or something? And then I was like, oh, no, it has to be more important. He's probably made of, like, gold. And then he said he was made of diamonds. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I still forgot it. Because then when I told David later, I was like, yeah, he's made of gold. And David was like, no, Liz, he's made of diamond. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. It was diamond.
Mr. Shine, him diamond.
Yes, he's a diamond. Oh my gosh. It was so good. Oh, but I don't know. So as is, we are past all of the video that I have, but I'm going to extend it. Do we want to discuss the ending or no?
Sure, if you want.
Well, so they eventually get into Coombe Valley, and they get below where all the caves are and whatnot, and they come across a huge body and a smaller body. Like, they've basically been entombed.
Let me give a little context for this, just because...
You're really far away.
I know, I'm going to come closer. So, as these plots have intertwined, it's determined that Rascal, the guy who painted the big Coombe Valley painting that got stolen, was,
He put a secret in his painting or whatever.
Yeah, everyone's always thought there was a secret in the painting. And the thing that they realized is that Rascal found what's called a cube. Cubes are these ancient devices that no one knows how to make, but dwarves revere because they're basically like recording devices. And when they find them, they have like thousands of years worth of like natural sounds on them, and the dwarfs will wipe that out. It's hard to figure out how a cube works, but they can figure out a word or a place to touch it to wipe the noise on it, and then they can use it to record things. And so it's theorized that Rascal, when he went to Coombe Valley to paint it, found a cube and brought it home with him. But there were no dwarfs in Ankh-Morpork at the time, or not nearly as many, so the cube was helping to drive the already not very sane Rascal more nuts. So he paints this beautiful painting, which it turns out you're supposed to view it like in a circle, so you're standing in the middle of it, and that'll help you figure out where you are in the valley, which they all agree is like not where the valley was set, or not where the fight should have happened. It's in the wrong part of the valley. So he got this cube, and so the dwarfs who are underground have been looking for this cube, and they killed a whole bunch of city dwarfs just because they heard what it said. So they're like, what could possibly be so important about this cube that you kill people just for hearing it, and then what could be so important that, you know, they're continuing to commit all these crimes and trying to kill Sam and everything, and go to Coombe Valley and steal this painting. So it's because it's proof, and the proof is, which is they find...
Well, it's very important to note, the guy who painted this was cuckoo crazy, and he lived with chickens.
He thought he did.
Oh, that's right. He imagined chickens, but everybody knew that. Like,
Yeah.
everybody knew he talked chickens, basically, in his head. So, they find the cube, and I think it's Vimes who's like, okay, what is open in dwarf? Someone says open, and, like, they come across all these words, and one of them is like, Brock! And they say that, and that's when it activates, and, like... Yeah, it sounds like a chicken, but it also means... Is it open in dwarf? I don't remember what it ultimately
means stop or something like that. I forget what it was.
Yeah, it was something, and it was... Oh, it was so glorious. Like, because Vimes was like, that's the word, that one right there.
Yep.
And at first I was like, how does he know? And I was like, oh my god, the chickens!
Yep. And so the big find, what you discover and what kicked this all off was the dwarfs found the cube, and Ham Crusher didn't like what the cube said, because at the very beginning of the book there was that creation myth that Liz, didn't remember after the beginning, which was, basically saying that Tack wrote the dwarves and they wrote the humans, and then the trolls came alive and Tack hated the trolls or something like that. It's basically standard, bigotry stuff, but it makes clear in the beginning that it appears that the part about the trolls seems to have been added later. Mm-hmm. When they hear the cube, it opens with the Tack myth, but instead it's rather than being like, oh, we should kill all the trolls, it's, oh, and Tack saw that the stone wanted to live and all things should, and, you know, Tack is really nice. And so, like, that's already part one, is, like, the original myth was not what they claimed, which is, like, the main thing for their war. But then the second part of the myth, or part of the cube speech, is the leaders, the old famous leaders of the trolls and the dwarves, Bloodaxe and another diamond troll from the Coombe Valley times, saying we were ambushed by our own team. Like, basically, we came to have a peace treaty and finally end the war between our races, and the people who want the war to continue, you know, betrayed us both and ambushed us and, you know, made sure that nobody could tell the truth and, like, to keep the war going. And so the Grags heard this and decided, you know, that can't be okay, and Hamcrusher was trying to destroy the cube, and so one of the Grags killed him. They didn't know which one did it because they all looked the same in the dark, wearing their their hooded clothes. And so they're rushing to Coombe Valley to destroy the evidence. They're trying to get there first to the cave so they can start destroying all the evidence of the trolls and the dwarfs sitting there peacefully, you know, playing
Making
thug.
an agreement, yeah.
Yeah, waiting to die because they were washed into this cave, and that's where the cube was, and one dwarf made it out and then died, and that's the dwarf that Rascal found, and he had the cube this entire time. And so that's the whole big thing, is they find the cave and manage to stop the dwarves from destroying the evidence of, like, yeah, this whole war has been predicated on a lie this entire time. Like, hundreds or thousands of years of, like, you know, speciesism, because people just wanted to continue it rather than admit that, like, they should chill. So, yeah.
Just makes me all the more proud of previous books going a ways back when somebody says something to Cheery in Dwarfish, and Detritus is like, I know what that word means. And he stands up and he's getting ready to kill Mother Trucker, and who was it? Vimes called him down. Like, somebody told him not to, but he was prepared to kill somebody to defend Cheery the dwarf. So I was like, power of the watch, yes.
So yeah, they're very good books. This story is very well done. I think the only real issue it has is that
their voice actor sucks.
well, yeah, basically that.
So yeah, I'm hopefully gonna try Jim Butcher's Codex series next. It's like the Fury is what it's...
Codex Alera, yes.
Yeah, that one.
It's been a long time since I've read those, so I will probably not remember much either, so it'll be interesting if I can even keep up with you. And they're like, oh, this is what happened, and I'm like, okay.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
And that is the end of Imagine Day 1. I got 3 hours and 22 minutes of footage. So I got Imagine out, and I started one of the stars. And then I leaned my head over and I did this, and I started falling asleep. So I'm not going to cross stitch anymore, because obviously I need to just relax because I'm sleepy. But I finished a ton of colors. The only ones remaining are those ones. And the unicorn, obviously. But it ended up being a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. So maybe I made the assumption that this was 14 count? Or I'm crazy. Could be that I'm crazy. That also happens. Yeah. I got some really nice embroidery scissors. Haven't used them yet, but from Michael's they were like 20 bucks. Work paid for it, so I was like, you want to buy me a bunch of cool materials and other things for my cross-stitching addiction? I support this. Like, you may. Aw, it even came with a case. How cute. can't get them out of the plastic that they're in. Jeez Louise. I'm going to hurt myself. Okay. I'm assuming that's how you hold them, right? It's interesting. I have some thrown away thread. I want to see how easy it cuts. Okay, if I ever have to cut left-handed, which happens sometimes, and I'm not good at cutting that way. Dude, these scissors are nice. Now I need to make sure I get all that thrown away or it gets embroidered into my thing. Okay, so Ginger, Stork embroidery scissors. They're nice. Crisp, clean cuts through single layers of fabric, multiple strands of thread, and light needlework yarn. Dude. And there's a lifetime warranty guarantee. That's nice. I'm excited. I ordered, along with this, yeah, I got to choose the stuff that I wanted work to pay for. I got a bunch of other cross stitch patterns. And I got a bunch of Christmas themed, well, yeah, stockings. I thought they were all cross stitch, but I have since learned one of them is needlepoint. And I've done needlepoint in the past. I did needlepoint in high school, and I wasn't great at it. And mostly my hang up is that the pattern is printed, painted, whatever word you're looking for, on the fabric, and it's not quite plastic canvas, and it's not quite like Aida cloth. It's, I don't know how to describe it. Like, if you've done needlepoint, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But instead of being X's like in a cross stitch, needlepoint is just dashes, I guess. I think you can pick which way you want to go. I'm not sure. It's been a while. But yeah, you have to just be able to tell first off which color that's printed on the canvas matches which color yarn, and then when there's two, you know, like you have a single thread like that's this long, or a single part of the canvas, it's actually teeny tiny, but we're making it big for this example. When it's painted blue here and red here, you have to decide which color do I want this one to be, and I don't like that. I like it to be definitive, like this is how it's supposed to look. This is what you're supposed to do. This is where the stitches are supposed to go. And that, I find that to not always be true for needlepoint, so. We'll see though, it's super, super, super cute. It's penguins. I don't know, maybe I'll have to like show you guys my haul. I'm not huge on haul videos though. I don't know. Like, especially because these weren't like lucky finds that I got at the store. These were things I ordered online. So like anybody could get the exact same things that I got. And I feel like a big part of a haul is like, I got lucky and found this awesome thing on clearance or something, you know? I don't know. I don't really watch haul videos. Right now I'm watching the Lizzie Bennett Diaries, which I haven't watched in like 7 or 8 years. Still love it. It's amazing. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I need to go eat and relax. Mostly that second one. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next video.